Hello. Okay, so this morning for me was chapter 8, verses 18 through 38. And we talked endlessly yesterday about Lehi's vision. But now I'm at the second part, so I get to chime in a little bit more too. But in my study of this book, it's listing what he sees and what the symbolism is. And then at the end, sorry, maybe I need to wake up a little bit before I do these things. But at the end, it talks about the spiritual forest. And they're just talking about how the word tree is used 428 times in the scriptures. And tree of life itself occurs no fewer than 29 times. And then it talks about how Jeremiah talks about blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope is in the Lord, for he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green. And then it talks about Ezekiel. He wrote of a vision of the temple of God, in which forth streams the healing waters to sustain trees and grow on either side. And then it talks about reflections by John in his vision of the tree of life in the midst of the paradise of God. So it just lists all these references to trees, and then it says again and again, the image of a tree awakens in our soul a sense of spiritual potential. He talks about the allegory of the olive tree. He talks about the imagery of Zion's branches, about the substance of Zion's organizational structure itself, such as poles, wooden stakes that support a canopy of spiritual refuge. And then it talks about tree-related emblems come back to one thing: the love of God manifested through the blessings of the gospel of Jesus Christ offered through his grace to his sons and daughters as a means of bringing them home. And then it says, all of us contribute in our own way to the growth of the spiritual forest. For all of us, there are trees of significance somewhere in the record of our lives, some of which we may have planted and nourished personally. What are these trees, these personal trees of life? And then it talks about the sacred grove for Joseph Smith, President Hinckley's walnut tree that became the podium for General Conference. It talks about all this stuff, but what I wanted to share, the important part, let me get to it. What are the trees in your life? There is value in walking through the spiritual forest of your life and in contemplating the blessings of God embodied in the imagery of those special trees that reflect his love and remind us of the promise. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. And I thought that kind of went along with I almost sneezed, I'm sorry. Went along with what we were talking about yesterday about the imagery and all that stuff, and I've almost forgotten where I was going. I'm very sorry about this morning. It's very scatterbrained. With the imagery and what, kind of how we get revelation and that kind of thing. I just thought it was interesting to think about what spiritual trees and or physical trees are important in my life, and what kind of blessing or lessons do they teach about the gospel. That's what I was getting at. Okay, so anyways, that's my study for today.